All right. It's been a little bit. It's been a while. We did 2 full seasons, and I decided because of all the interest to redo the show and start back up. And I don't make this stuff up as one purpose and one purpose only. It is to teach you, the listener, you, the one with dreams, how to do it, and really say you're doing it this way, which is fine. But there are other ways. Why don't you try? You got to change the brain to change the game, mix things up. Do what you can. So I've decided to bring on guests this season. I'm going to do 10 episodes. This is episode 1. And I'm going to bring on guests. I'm going to ask them questions about what they're doing. And then I'm basically going to give them a free consulting hour to be a 60-minute episode, not the 6-hour episodes we used to do back in the day. So that is what I'm going to do today for you, the listener. And my guests, who I love deeply, and not in a we spent the night in bed together, but more of like he likes laying on the mat because he's a wrestler. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Cory Kastle, everybody. Mr.
Tom,
Cory.
we could lay in bed together and it'd be not weird, right?
Well, as long as there's a pillow between us and I don't have an erection.
Yeah, dude. I sleep in bed with guys all the time. I'm a traveler on the road. I'm on the road performer. Sometimes I sleep in a bed with a dude, and I'm fine with it.
Listen, it's not gay if you're not enjoying it.
Right. I mean, sometimes boners happen, but those are, we're asleep when it happens.
Listen, I've had sex with several men to prove that I wasn't gay. So
That's
just to do it. Anyway, I have a couple questions before we get started so the audience can understand who you are and what you do. So right off the bat, Mr. Cory Kastle, obviously that's your stage name, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is.
All right. We don't need to know your real name, but it's good to know that you are using a stage name because that is a pretty common thing for people.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you already know my real name, but
listen,
you may have forgotten it. It's public record. I've never tried to hide it.
You never hide it.
If you were to Google me, you'd find it.
Yeah, but Cory Kastle is, it's important to know that it's okay to have a stage name. That doesn't deter your success or not, unless you're Cory Kastle. So,
because I've got a limited amount of that currently.
Right. So, Mr. Cory Kastle, you are by far specifically a wrestler that also does other things. Is that correct?
That is very correct. Yes.
All right. And what are those other things you do?
I host a podcast. I host a podcast called Evolving with Cory Kastle. And I've been doing that since 2017. I used to host a podcast called Rassle Rock, RASSLE Rock. But my co-host stopped watching wrestling. So we can't discuss wrestling anymore. So we're like, okay, well, he's lost his will to watch wrestling anymore.
He's still talking about Owen, Owen Hart. Yeah, Owen Hart's great, man. He's the Blue Beetle.
The Blue Blazer.
They changed that.
The Blue Blazer.
Yeah, they cut him out of the show. Why? Right. He died. What do you mean? Like his gimmick wasn't working? No. He fell and yeah. Sometimes the star falls. Sometimes you try one thing and people just don't connect to it. And it's like,
he was canceled.
Why? What did he say? He said,
enough is enough.
All right.
And it's time for a change. That's an Owen Hart theme catchphrase.
Yeah. The enough is enough. Yeah. Towards the end. Actually, towards the end, it was, oh my God. So I do want to say this though, just to speed through it. You do comedy. You do stand-up comedy. You quote unquote act.
Quote unquote.
Just kidding. There is no quotes. So basically, you wrestle. You do podcasts. You do comedy. You do some acting. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else we could throw on that list?
I am an ordained minister.
Okay. All right.
I am a licensed bodyguard.
Oh, all right.
I work as a server at TGI Fridays.
Okay. That's good to know.
So if you
have
want
what we in the industry call a survival job, which is, by the way, one of the reasons you haven't reached a certain level of success. But we'll get into that. All right. So for those listening, Mr. Kastle not only has a survival job, but he also diversifies what he does in the entertainment industry, which is also, it's an important note to take, that if you're a writer or you're an actor, you're a comedian, you don't necessarily just have to do that thing. because what you do is not your job. Your job actually rewards you financially to do the thing you do passionately. And the thing you do passionately would be the acting or the wrestling or the comedy. For example, Cory does not get to wrestle because he is a wrestler. If that was the case, if you were an quote unquote actor, but you were home, you don't get to act because you are an actor. No one's going to call you up and be like, "Hey, I heard in my dream the other day that you said something how you want to be an actor," and I was like, "I'm casting an award-winning movie and you need to be the lead." Like, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Just because you do something doesn't actually make you successful. The passion is not what gets you to the top. The job, the responsibilities that you do behind the scenes.
It's the grind that defines.
The grind that defines. All right. Right off the bat, I again, please don't take offense to anything I'm about to say. Hydro Man. All right. So Cory was saying he has a survival job. He didn't call it a survival job, but that's what we're going to call it, a survival job. I'm going to define success right now for anyone who has listened to the show. You know what it is. But for new listeners, success for me on this show is defined as making a living within your field of interest. A living is not a lifestyle. A living is affording an average monthly overhead. Okay. Now, obviously, a lifestyle is the life you want, not the life you need in the beginning. And that is the difference between succeeding and failing. Success comes from sacrificing your wants to afford your needs, and then as your needs and your job reward you financially, you can increase your budget, your average monthly overhead, and therefore increase your needs to add some of your wants. But that's later on down the road. So right off the bat, Mr. Kastle, if you quit your survival job today, right, could you afford your life?
For about a week.
So until the bill comes.
Right. For about a week. So I've been juggling survival jobs. Dude, I've been in this wrestling game for like most of my life. I'd say I debuted using the stage name Cory Kastle in 2002. So it just hit 20 years in September that I've been using the stage name Cory Kastle. But I've been wrestling. I've been in the business and like paying dues in wrestling and taking bumps since about 1998 when I was 14 years old. And I've never monetized it. The pro wrestling independent level is sometimes a little bit pay to play. And it's a little bit of like, it's almost like you got to do it for nothing if you want to do it at all. And
yeah,
that was what carried me all through my 20s, probably.
And comedy does that too for the audience.
Yeah.
Sometimes or bands also. You have to you buy tickets up front or get tickets. You got to sell the tickets. If you don't sell X amount of tickets, you either have to give them money for you to perform, or you don't get to perform. Right? That's pretty much what it is with wrestling. Right. Sometimes
for a good amount of years, I actually most of my wrestling bookings were just putting over ticket sellers. Yeah. So like people would go and get the tickets and go sell them to their friends from the promoter, and I'd have to go make them look like they were a star.
Yeah.
Like they were competing against somebody who was actually a wrestler, but I'd do it for $20 or something.
But let's talk about that for a minute. So I would like to say that, traditionally, if you start a business, if you are not successful within 3 years, meaning on your third year, at the end of your third year, you're not successful based on the success definition I gave. You're actually a failing business, and now you're breaking the rule of business, which is don't put money into a failing business. Now, the reason your business failed, by the way, is not because you're not a good wrestler, because again, your passion does not define your success. You have to do your job. And we all know on the show, your job is network market practice. Your job is managing your time, money, and people. Your job is finding solutions by thinking outside the box with your entrepreneurial brain. Your job is to not only have talent at what you're passionate about, but talent that allows you to join tables and be able to lead, follow, and advise. Your job is to organize your money so you can invest it into assets, but you also want to organize into security, growth, and dream so you can protect yourself, invest in yourself, and reward yourself. Now, with that fast spiel thrown out, Cory, could I assume that over 20 years, because you said you started in the 90s, over 20 years, would you say you have not saved up capital startup money to get your business going?
I would say no. No.
But what you did do, and tell me if I'm wrong. Now, I don't know your history behind the scenes, but I have worked with so many people for over 20 years in this industry that I already know your story. And I'm going to assume you basically had a job or jobs, and your brain was like, well, I'll do this thing until I get my break, and then I could quit these jobs and focus 100% on wrestling. Is that pretty much within the realm of what your plan was when you first started wrestling? When you first started being interested in wrestling as a career?
I think wrestling has become less of like a direction for an income and more like a hobby.
I'm talking about in the beginning. In the
beginning, yeah. And still, with that being said, I still would like it to be. I still lead, but I'm not going like, wait till I catch my break. But I thought that, when I was a kid, like when you apply adult logic to childhood dreams, it's hard to like sift through what's worth throwing and what's worth keeping,
Well, so, also, imagine someone told you, hey, Cory, I see that you have the athleticism. You definitely have stage presence, but in reality, to make it in wrestling, you got to put more time into networking. You got to put more time in marketing. But before you do all that, you should save up 18 months to 2 years worth of money so you can focus solely on getting involved in the industry of wrestling. Your brain would be like, no, I'm just going to be the best wrestler I can potentially be. So I get recognized, noticed, and someone says, we want you in the WWE camp. Is that something your brain thought about when you were starting out? That you were like, let me be just so good that they can't ignore me, that they're going to want me on their shows because I'm awesome.
I think I don't think starting out that I thought that way, because I just thought, do you remember ECW?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
So Chris Jericho started there.
What's that?
Chris Jericho
was there. Yeah. ECW was ran out of Philly, right? Which is Philly's where I'm from.
Yeah.
ECW ran at the ECW Arena, Swanson Arena in South Philly. That's where, when the company that I worked for then, CZW, started running in that same building, and they had like syndicated TV, and I was on that show, and I was like, oh, that's gonna blow up. And that, like, for some reason, my young delusional brain was like, when that blows up, I'll blow up. Like, and everyone was like, oh, go to school, dude, get some backup, get some, like, no.
No, your plan B should just be another way to succeed at your plan A, for the record. That's how we talk on the show. So let me clarify. It wasn't so much that you were like, let me be so good, I'll get recognized. You were already so good in your mind that you're like, if this show blows up, I'm set.
Yeah. I really had delusions
of grandeur.
Delusions of grandeur, yes. And I didn't even think, like, somehow I didn't even think to even like watch my stuff and think I'm good or not. Like, I never even like when I was going through it, and I think it's also way different time too, because it was the early 2000s, and every match I remember coming back and like seeing stars and like not really remembering what happened in the match. I was fully concussed every match. I remember early 2000s, I would always come back fully concussed every match and didn't remember any of it.
Yeah.
So I obviously was not very good if I kept getting injured
Well, yeah. Well, you're not supposed to stop yourself from falling with your head. Like
yeah, honk.
yeah. How come every time I fall on my back, I get a headache? Well, because you're landing on your head first. You're supposed to actually curl your neck, your chin to your chest, and allow your back. Right. You're
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
curl fall.
that's correct. Yeah.
Yes,
I always say whenever I give like day one lessons to people,
Yeah.
I'm like, tuck your chin to your chest, keep your tongue inside of your teeth.
Yeah,
Keep
always.
your tongue inside of your teeth. Because people go, oh, I bit my tongue. Ah, crap.
And also, I believe your arms have to be out, right? Because it reduces the impact, right? Yeah. You flap your arms down. Yep. Reduces the impact. You're like, how does this guy even know? I've never seen him wrestle a day in your life. It's because I study success, and believe it or not, they're successful wrestlers. So I was more interested in the process of success and less about the art, because I already know what my passion is. I love writing, I love comedy, I love music. So I don't, like I know what my passion is. I didn't need to study that. I studied it in the sense of let me be good at what I do, but I was like, what is the process to get paid to do what I wanted to do? With that said, though, so you've been doing this for over 20 years, right? Now, did you change direction and say, let me add comedy because people are going if they do comedy, they get a show or they get discovered, and or was it just like you were like, I just need something else to do?
No, actually, comedy was the thing I wanted to do first. It was the thing I wanted to do before I ever wanted to be a wrestler, and I didn't think about how I could be both things at the same time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
I've seen your matches.
Yeah.
So
comedy. I could do that as I could do them both at the same time.
You don't want to be
doink?
You don't want to be doink? Come on.
No, I never wanted to be a funny wrestler.
Yeah,
I wanted to be a funny comic and a good wrestler, but not a funny wrestler. And I battled against that for so long that it might have really hindered me.
Well, you're mostly a heel in wrestling, right?
Yeah.
You have the mustache, so the beard, right? That's what they say. Like faces have to be clean, mostly, right? Clean shaven. And
I mean, they say that in Georgia, in like the 1980s. They're not. I don't know if they're necessarily saying that now.
All right.
That's what someone in Georgia told me in the early 2000s. They're like, "Oh, cut all this off. What are you doing?"
Yeah, you can't be a face if you got that. Why? Because I can't see your face. No, I don't think that's what that means.
Yeah, the face doesn't mean to see your face.
So you wanted to be a comedian first, but did you not try it first? You started with wrestling, and because you didn't, I don't understand. Like, why didn't you go for the comedy?
So I started training to be a pro wrestler when I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And then I started I wanted to do open mics, but I was too young.
Okay. Yeah.
And so
Dave Chappelle was doing open mics.
Yeah, right.
In his teens.
Yeah,
in Washington D.C.
So as soon as someone told me I was too young, I just was like, okay, I'll not do it then.
Yeah.
And then like when I was like 21 or 22, I jumped up on stage and did my first open mic.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh man, well, I did my first open mic, went great. Second week I went back, or maybe the second day. It was like the day after that I went and tried a different open mic somewhere else, and that bombed miserably. And I'm all right, not doing it. And I stopped for a while.
Yeah,
and then I started back up. I started back up in 2011. I had that brain surgery.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying.
And when I wasn't allowed to get in a ring, I wasn't allowed to. Podcasts really didn't exist as accessibly as they are now.
Yeah,
and I wanted to be able to say stuff, and I wanted to have an outlet. And
yeah, but for the first couple months after your brain surgery, wasn't most of what you said?
It sounded like I was always dribbling.
Is that true? No, that'd be so funny.
No.
You're like, and your family's like, you're sound much better.
I don't know if you could.
I don't know if you could. I remember seeing your scar.
No, but I'm saying like I have this little dip here on the side of my head. I
thought we were talking about your vasectomy scar.
Right here, this little dip right here on the side of my head.
That's crazy that happened.
Like I kind of like lost my I lost like all my fat here in the side of my face.
Yeah. But
And
is there a bone there now, or is there a metal plate?
there's a plate up here.
Oh, okay.
But the like where this like when they had to peel my face off.
I know.
And then they put my face back on and stapled it up back on. But this fat in my face up here didn't return, and I had like lost all this feeling in the side of my face for about 8 months. And every once in a while, I would get these like real bad headaches, just like hit me real bad. And I this is the only time I ever did it on stage. I did it once. I was talking about. I was like, oh, I got this brain surgery a couple months ago. Side of my face is real numb still, but sometimes I'll get these pains and I'll act like when it hits me and I'm like, ah, and then people are like, you okay? Then I'll automatically act like I got psychic powers and I'm like, someone with the J name, your dad. But I got more of a laugh for saying I just had brain surgery. Like they didn't know that was the joke. Like, so I was like, all right, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, but when it comes to comedy, writing 101 is you're not telling jokes for the audience to laugh where you think they're supposed to laugh. Comedy is about listening and there's a back and forth with the audience. And sometimes your setup is going to be funnier than the punchline, which means you need to work on the punchline, but don't be nervous that they're I once watched a comedian and the audience was laughing at how they were setting up the joke. And they were like, what are you doing? That's not where you're supposed to laugh. Mm-hmm. And what they did, basically trained their audience not to laugh because they were like, oh, you only want us to laugh when you want us to laugh. So go to hell,
Dude, I had a show this Saturday in Jersey.
Comedy?
No, a pro wrestling show. And okay. I was a heel on stage, heel on mic, and I was in the ring. And I said, none of these fans here were like wrestling fans. They were just like friends and family of the wrestlers or like the promoter
the
or
pay
something.
For play. Yeah, I got you.
So they weren't typical wrestling fans. And I started out and I was like, you guys are all very intellectually limited. I understand, but I just want to make sure you know this right off the bat. Out of respect for me, when this bell rings, I want every one of you to shut up and not say anything. I want complete silence in this room.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, okay. Like, I'm like, you're supposed to not respect me. I'm a heel. Everybody was so like, okay.
That's actually the same speech I give every woman I'm about to make love to.
Stay silent.
Because I just want to know. I just want to hear me. All right. So let's get into it a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna ask you if you did a couple things, and then you tell me yes or no. Okay.
Okay.
Or actually, before I do that, because we still have a little time before we get to the next half hour. What did you do, or do you think it takes to be successful in just let me know. You're talking about comedy, acting, wrestling. You pick one, and you tell me what your plan is to be successful in that field. And be honest. It's okay. I'm not going to judge you. Just tell me what you literally and truly believe is the path to success for you.
I think being really good. I think mostly like with my comedy, I just want to make sure that I'm really good. It's not really that I want to like get a break or anything. I just really want to make sure I'm very good first. So like that's why I don't have a lot of my stuff accessible on YouTube because like they're not seeing the best of it yet because the best of it isn't really here yet. So I'm just this kind of the same with pro wrestling, but the thing with pro wrestling is for the most part, I want every match that I have to be an experience for the people who are there. And I think maybe I haven't paid enough attention to creating that experience for people over the years. And I just I think, redefining what each success is. So for a really long time, I just nitpicked everything and really like beat myself up like, oh, that wasn't good. Oh, that sucked. But that would stand right in my way.
All right, let me pause you there. So, for the audience, everything that Cory just said was artist brain, okay? And when you're trying to become successful, you got to use business brain. Artist brain is to create the experience. Business brain is to sell the experience. So Cory wants to be real, and I'm just to confirm, you know, Cory's saying that he wants to be really good at comedy before he pushes a little bit, right? And he wants to give the best experience for the wrestling fans, which are both artist brain perspectives.
Right.
Now, this is also known as hesitation. So you can't be successful if you hesitate. And in reality, it's not about being the best. And I'll prove that. Was Robert De Niro Oscar worthy when he did his first movie, Cory? But wait, what? But shouldn't he have waited? Shouldn't he have waited until he was at least Oscar notable before he got into really took acting seriously?
Right. I get the example that you're making.
All right.
So,
So that's how you should be looking at your career. Is it's not about your performance first. Robert De Niro got involved with his industry.
mhm.
He networked and built relationships. One of his biggest breaks came from his friendship with Joe Pesci, which led him to Martin Scorsese, which then obviously Martin Scorsese, Joe Pesci, they have this huge 30, 40-year relationship, right? That's the issue with a lot of people. They're scared to take a chance until they feel they are so good you can't be ignored, right? But
Mhm.
you are not the judge of your greatness. The
Right.
audience is, right? You can think you're the best there is, the best there ever was, and the best they will be,
Yeah.
right? But you don't get to decide that.
We're really going at the hearts today, huh?
Yeah. Well, taking wrestling from the heart. Listen, the cave is important. All right, so listen, there's a lot of wrestling innuendo in this, but my point is, for those listening, your talent, your craft, is literally the least important element of success. It is an important element to longevity, but longevity is not the same as success. You can't have longevity until you have success. So if you focus on being so good they can't ignore you, people are ignoring you because they don't know who you are. You're trying to create longevity before you have the success. And success comes from the people you know, the people who know you, and how well you know yourself in the industry you're in so you can make calculated moves, right? But more importantly, how can you focus on getting involved with an industry when you can't do anything yet? The answer is have that capital startup. And a lot of people are scared to say, well, let me give 3 or 4 years to myself to save up this money so I could afford to not work a job for 2 years, 18 months to 24 months. And that allow me to do what? Volunteer my time within the industries I am passionate about. I did not say act, wrestle, or do comedy within the field of your interest. You have to get into your field of interest first. And you do that by helping others, volunteering your time for free. Well, Tom, I got to pay my bills. No, you don't. You have 2 years worth of bills. But this is the crazy part. If you spend the first year of your career getting involved, you will get hired to do stuff. People will pay you once they can see your talent at what you bring to the table, how you lead, follow, and advise others. What can you do beyond I'm a wrestler, I'm a comedian, I'm a writer, I'm an actor? Because if they're hiring, like imagine I hired Cory to be a comedian on my show. I said, hey, Cory, can you do Friday? And he goes, absolutely not. I have to work, so I can't do it. So now I know I can't rely on Cory. I'm not going to ask him to do another show because he's unreliable. Why? Because he has a job that takes precedence over getting involved in the industry. And I need people at the show that have value. Why? Because let's go the other route. Cory, can you do the show? Cory says, absolutely. I could be there Friday. Cory comes. He comes in 15 minutes before he has to perform. He does his performance. He says hello, goodbye to all the comedians, and then he leaves. Why? Because Cory needs to go home. Because Cory has to go to work tomorrow. So now how can I put him on another show? He didn't talk to the audience afterwards. He didn't wait to say thank you to people. He just used the event for him. And the issue with that is this industry Your success has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the people you surround yourself with.
You
But if
gotta be a good hang.
besides the hang, how do you build relationships with people if you come and go?
Yeah.
Right? Now again, I'm not knocking what Cory's been doing for 20 plus years and stuff like that. What you're doing, Cory, is literally the traditional route of an entertainer, of an artist brain. It's I love wrestling. I love doing comedy. I love skill or passion here. Of course. And obviously, tell me if I'm wrong, Cory. Would you wrestle for free?
No.
So you don't wrestle for free at all, ever?
No.
You just I thought before you were saying you don't get paid.
No. I would when I was young, but I won't now.
Now you got to get paid. What's the average pay a wrestler of your status would get?
Like at least $50, which is
so. What you're saying is you don't get paid.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I don't get paid. I get paid $50.
You're like, I need money to get there,
right,
and get home.
Right. Yeah. So I'm basically paying to play. Like it's like I'm just being a mark for myself, and I'm. It's like.
Okay. Well, let's take that back, audience. Cory is not making money wrestling, unless do you wrestle 10 times a week?
No, I wrestle twice a month. So basically, I'm a waiter at TGI Fridays.
I'm a waiter who wrestles occasionally. No, that's fine. That's fine. By the way, Cory and I are friends. We've known each other for a long time, so I'm not laughing at him to make fun of him. I'm laughing because, it's just funny. He's like, I will not wrestle unless I get paid. And you're like, oh, great. How often do you wrestle? Well, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Survivor Series. I watch wrestling.
There's pictures of me on Facebook being a pro wrestler. Therefore, I am a pro wrestler.
All right. Can I tell you a story about one of my proteges, one of the people I mentored?
Please. I just want to say for the record, before anything else,
yeah,
I have an incredible amount of respect for your success formulas and your way of zooming back out of something and checking out the dollars and cents of it and why it's worth doing. Like you're smelling the fish heads on everything.
Yeah. Well, because when I first started out, I was a musician and I was like, well, I'll just be so good, they'll have to hire us. And no one wanted even to get us in the room because they're like, who are you? And then they were like, how many people you bring? And we were like, 50. And then we show up and no one would show up, and then
I'm fully invested in, not like emotionally and all the work I'm doing. I usually have a drum here. I'm usually beating that drum because it's about consistency. And what I would like to do consistently is become a draw. I want to become a draw, and I want people to put their money down so they can put an ass every 18 inches.
Yeah, but you don't draw because you wrestle.
Right.
Just like musicians don't draw because they play music. Just like comedians don't draw because they do comedy.
It would be an experience. It'd be an experience that I think.
But again, you can't determine the experience. The audience does.
Yes.
But they have to experience the truth before they get to the match.
Yeah, they have to. It has to bring value.
Yeah, you can't go, I'll just wrestle until people recognize me, because now what you're saying is the rule of marketing suggests that every audience you perform in front of it is the same exact audience every single time. Mm-hmm. But it's not. You're wrestling in front of mostly new people. So your marketing starts over from zero. So they're not really, what you're saying is, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm simplifying what you're saying. The artist brain of what you're presenting is, I will wrestle for an audience, and it'll be such an experience that they will become fans of me, and they will choose to come to another wrestling match, even though in the same breath, several seconds ago, you said, I perform wrestling, and it was mostly friends and family of the other wrestlers, which means they didn't even want to be there. They didn't even understand what I was saying in the ring, and then didn't respond to it.
Right.
So it's the idea that I will perform, the audience will love me, or at least some of them. They will come back, and that's how I build my fan base. Is a logical fallacy. No one, I shouldn't say no one. You need them to see you so much for the in-print marketing to take effect, and that's why like songs are played so much on the radio, or the banners and billboards are everywhere, because it's in-print marketing. You're not putting any money into marketing. I can guarantee that, right? What's your marketing budget?
My marketing budget is the I guess whatever I pay for StreamYard.
Okay,
My
so
podcast out.
zero. Well, StreamYard is not marketing because it's a product.
Right.
When you do a podcast, that's a product. So now you got to market a brand to bring people to listen to your podcast. Now, I do it because I don't make this stuff up. The way I do it with that is it's all about keywords, titles, the description, and the subject matter, right? So that draws in. It's fine. I have content that creates a solution for an audience. The solution is education or how do I, right? But if it's entertainment based, the solution has to be something else. It has to entertain something specific. But if they don't know that exists because they're not looking for it, you have to market it. But the thing is, if somebody's like, well, how do I get successful in, say, comedy? They're going to look that up and they're going to see, title work. But anyway, all right. So let me bring up one of my proteges. He wanted to be in the wrestling industry. Okay. He loved wrestling. So what he did was he took my advice. He saved up money. He moved to LA and he got involved not only in the film industry as a stage, he was like stagehand stuff. He did grip, gaffer, things like that. But he got involved. He started making friends with people. And that's actually how he got out to LA in the first place, because he got involved in New York first while he was saving up money. He would just like volunteer his time on his off days. And it led to them saying, hey, we're going out to LA. You should come with us because I have work out there that's guaranteed for you. And he was like, all right. And by the way, when I say work, I don't mean like a waiter. I mean work within the industry. Mm-hmm. So he already established those relationships, which led to opportunity. Then he decided to move to LA with money saved, so he didn't have to go work a job. And he was making money, even though it wasn't doing exactly what he wanted to do, but he was making money within his field of interests. He liked the film industry and he likes the wrestling industry. While he was doing that, he started building relationships with other writers and other wrestling organizers. And that led over the course of 3 years. Okay, he was already successful because what was he doing? He was making a living within his field of interest, right? He was paying his bills, right? But after 3 to 4 years ish, he got an opportunity to partner up with a federation, and they created their own federation. Within 2 years, they had a pay-per-view. Okay, just at the beginning of this year, he got hired to be a writer with the WWE. Now, the reason that happened. And by the way, I met this kid in 2013. So that's less than 10 years ago. He went from I have a dream to I'm in it. And by the way, how long does it take on average for a person to be an overnight success? 10 years, right? It took me 10 years to become an overnight success. It took him almost 10 years to get the dream job he always wanted, which was being a writer for the WWE. And he did that by following the rules. Network market practice, organize your money, have the startup capital, managing your time, money, and people, so finding solutions. Like when he went and he got so involved, people said, I want to partner with you and get involved with this federation, which led to the pay-per-view, which led to he was the top boss because he was a solution finder. Right? So what I want people to understand when they listen to this episode, and again, when we look at what Cory's saying, he's not doing it wrong per se. He's just following the artist brain only. He's not following the business brain. And Cory was so gracious to come on here to tell us his story and his process so you, the audience, can hear that you're not the only ones. You're not the only ones thinking, well, I want to wait till I'm good enough before I get a website. Or I want to wait till I'm good enough before I start getting really involved. Or, I'm going to hope that if I'm working with this federation, this wrestling federation, they're going to pop because they're starting to do pay-per-view with ECW, that this is my big break. Not realizing like how involved are you beyond wrestling, which brings me back to Corey, the example with the comedy. What do you bring to the table? If I book you on a comedy show, what do you bring to the table? Tell me. I'm going to book you Friday. What are you bringing to the table next Friday on a comedy show?
What am I bringing to the table as a comedian?
Well, no. I'm hiring you, okay, for
Right.
free because you have no brand, because I know that you have no draw, right?
Yeah.
Is your draw zero?
Yeah, nobody nobody comes to see me.
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
But I'm going to put you on a
you
big show.
put my picture on the thing, and people are impressed with my picture on the flyer. I bring that. People go, "Oh, that guy looks like he's somebody."
Yeah, look at his beard. I got to see the beard
Presentation
in
is
person.
something.
All right. So my question, to be more specific, is if I book you on one of my shows for comedy, what do you bring to the table? And I don't want you to think about it like, what is the answer Thomas wants? I want you to tell me what you bring, like why I should book you for this show and not someone else. Why should I book you?
I'm going to say that this is something I fully apply to everything, and
Go for it.
and I think this is what I bring to the table in anything I do.
Other than your drum.
Yeah, I'm not. I left my drum in the car, so I can't go. Hey, here it is. I left it in the car from the weekend. But I think, and I always talk about the currency of effort. The currency of effort is super important to me. So I think
what is the effort you bring?
What's that?
What is the effort specifically that you bring? Are you just bringing?
No, I'm not talking about my effort. I'm not talking about my effort. The effort from the currency that the currency of effort that people like. You can't just turn the TV on and there's my podcast. You can't just turn the TV on and there's my wrestling. You have to have seeked it out. So that effort that you took to seek it out is important to me. So why it's, and when I'm performing, my gratitude towards that effort provides an experience.
Okay.
For the people who are coming to see me do what I do.
All right. Anything else? There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think of course there's more to it. There's always going to be more to it.
Well, I'm asking, but I want to know what you would bring to the table.
So
far, it's just effort and a really great experience, which, by the way, again, you can't determine the experience. Only the audience. You cannot tell me, hey, if you book me, I'm going to bring an amazing experience. You can't, because there's no proof to it.
Yeah.
Right? And you're only as good as your last show. So I'll be like, well, let me see your last show. And if your last show, no one laughed, I know that can't be true now. Oh, no, 6 shows ago, I got the audience to laugh. All right, well, so, 5 out of 6 times, no one laughed.
So perform on 4 more shows, and then come back. We'll do a dark one where no one's there. You just do a rehearsal of it.
Yeah, the cameras will be rolling so we can laugh later, but
and then the people will laugh when we let them in.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe if we have a laugh track. What you're saying you're going to bring to the table. And again, I'm not making fun of you.
Also, as a comedian, I could say that I've got multiple TV credits. I got multiple TV credits. You can say, as seen on HBO, as seen.
You were on HBO?
Netflix. Yeah, dude.
What'd you do?
I was a background extra, and
I had lines. They just didn't mic me.
I was on Netflix as an extra behind Halle Berry when she was walking to the cage in the movie Bruised.
I was waiting for you to say I was on HBO once. George Carlin had a comedy special, and I had paid for the front row seat, and you could see me on camera.
And that show, The Deuce with James Franco. I
played the penis.
I just walked past the porno theater And
So what you're saying is you don't have credits.
I I have credits that are immediately followed by uncredited.
Uncredited.
In parentheses.
I have uncredited credits for credited work that I was credited for through paying me. I made more money doing background than I ever did in wrestling for a whole month, which is true, especially when you're union. Are you union? Oh, yeah.
No.
See, I became union like 30 or what was it, 60 days, like within 60 days of me wanting to be an actor. I was like, let me become a union. And people were like, how'd you do that? It took me 6 years. And I was like, oh, I read the instructions on how to get a SAG card. And then I went for the one I knew I could get the quickest. And they're like, that's cheating. Reading is cheating. Okay. All right. So I'll be honest, and don't take offense to this, nor anyone listening. And let me just refine Cory's answer. He says a great experience, which we've already deduced that you cannot decide it's going to be a great experience. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a great experience. He's going to bring his uncredited credits, and he's going to bring effort.
And my drum.
And his drum that he will promptly be asked to leave in his car. All right. So what that means is you're using me for my show at that point, and we are not working together. And that is something that people need to change their brain to change the game about. You need to bring something to the table besides I do X. I'm a comedian. I'm an actor. I'm a musician. Like, if that's all you do, I have no need to bring you on the show. You're not helping the show. You're not helping before, during, or after the show. You're not doing...
So is it safe to say that I'm not going to be booked on a TJB production?
Well, if I do any comedy, it's always under the top of the bottom pile banner. And you actually have to be a part of the top of the bottom pile to get on the show. Which is a part of my nonprofit of the Team Rise Together, which is about bringing people together and elevating others by working, growing, and working.
This is the long way to say, yes, you won't be booked.
Correct. I would book you to do like a dark match. Okay, so, but listen, the reason I won't book you is because if I book you and then I book 3 other comics, right? And they're all bringing something to the table, but you're not. I'm insulting them by having you use us. And the idea is everything I do must affect everything I do in the sense that I want to believe in the Team Rise Together motto, which is we're going to work together, we're going to grow together, and we're going to rise together. And if someone's involved in something that I'm doing, especially with other people, and one person or more is there to use the opportunity, I cannot book you again if I find that out. But if I know that in advance, I can't book you because it doesn't qualify my mission statement, which is working together, growing together, and rising together. But when I say, what do you bring to the table so you can lead, follow, and advise? Meaning, how do you make that show better than just being a performance? Mm-hmm. Right? So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. How many, when you do comedy, the hell with it, when you wrestle, how many newspapers do you contact to come and do interviews or reviews on the show every single wrestling match?
None.
You got to. It's radio. You got to speak.
I don't know. I don't know any newspapers. I don't.
So the answer is 0.
Right. I don't.
How long have you been wrestling for?
20 years.
And how many newspapers did you reach out to build and cultivate relationships by networking with them?
I know I've been in the newspaper a few times, but it wasn't through any of my effort.
All right. Now, every time you were in the newspaper, how often did you work to build relationships with the person who got you in the newspaper? None. 0. All right. How many radio stations do you call every single time you have a wrestling match to do an interview or a review or something with the show to get involved in the show?
None.
You can say a little louder. Can't hear you.
0.
Now, by the way, Cory, I'm not in a gotcha moment.
Right.
You literally are doing what the majority of people do. Mm-hmm. It's the artist brain mentality. It's all about you It's the me mentality, not the we mentality. So when let's say you did a wrestling show, right? And you were able to get one newspaper there. And now you tell the promoter, hey, listen, I just want you to know my friend Chris is or Melissa is going to do a review on the show, or she actually wants to interview you if you're available for the article. What did you bring to the table beyond I wrestle?
Press.
Press. Okay. Now let's try it. Let's do another way. Do you have a publicist?
No.
But you're in entertainment.
Yeah, I don't have. I'm my own agent. My own.
Well, publicist is their job is
agent,
to basically
publicist.
create media. Yeah.
Every bit of anything I do, there's no third party who's really advocating for me in any way.
All right. What are your average numbers on your website? Meaning, how many people go to your website every month on average?
I'm gonna say, as far just for
well, in general,
episodes of my podcast that drop every Monday, I'd say between 80 and 100 people, maybe.
All right. So if we base it on the rule of 10%, let's go with 100. 100 people go to the website. 10% become aware of the website. So that's 10 people. 10 out of those 10 people, 10% are interested in what they're seeing, which is one person. And out of that one person, 10%, which is less than that one person, which means 0, is going to actually buy into your brand's message.
Yeah, they show up with just one contact lens in. Yeah. They're like, I'm going to watch 10% of this match.
What is this? Well, what that means is your brand doesn't have a draw, so you don't bring that to the table. By the way, listening to this episode, for anyone who's listening, keep in mind what you can bring to the table, you can work on. Like Cory, you could literally work on building relationships with newspapers and magazines and radio stations. Like you can. Nothing is stopping you from going, what can I do to help those networks or those outlets? How about I'm not wrestling this show, but my buddy's wrestling the show. Why don't I call 4 newspapers, and if one shows up, I'll buy them lunch and I'll go and meet them, and now I'm building a relationship. And then I'm going to send them a thank you message within 3 days after the event. And then a week later or 2 weeks later, I'm going to just message them and say, hey man, I really want to say thank you. And you just keep that up. You don't vanish from them. You can do that. You don't have to be wrestling to start building relationships with people of the media industry. The other thing is, how do you build your brand value? What do you offer your audience besides an experience, right? So how do you solve their problems? What is it about you? What is your mission, right? And if your mission is like, I want to entertain people, I want people to feel good if they watch me wrestle.
I think inside of that too, like not just that not that I want to entertain people, because I don't promise a lot of things, but I can almost promise that I'm not going to entertain every single person who's there.
That's true. I've watched your OnlyFans.
Right. So what I also strive to do is I hope that I'd say something that might change somebody's outlook on something, or maybe inspire somebody, or have them think of me next time something like that comes up. Like for like a silly example, I had this thing I used to open with sometimes where I would say, can we please just agree to stop comparing ourselves so much to others? Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at somebody and you're like, they got a nice car, they got a nice house, they got a hot wife, they must have it all figured out.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it, birds, some of them still get hit by cars. They got the whole sky. Not everybody's got it all figured out. So now people will come up to me and they'll be like, "Oh, I almost hit a bird with my car, and I thought of you right away." Like,
so, when I almost commit murder, I think of you.
Right. Every time I'm this close to murdering a bird.
Yeah, I don't want to be like Dahmer. I don't want to compare myself to Dahmer. Oh, Cory, I remember him talking about that. That's fine, but that is not a mission, just for the record. Like for anyone listening, that's not, I would like blank, blank, blank. A mission is
it's just idealistic thoughts.
Yeah. But a mission is something that you work towards, that everything you do is blanketed by this mission statement. So, one of my mission statements is obviously to educate individuals within the entertainment industry in a way that lifts the misconceptions of how it's done, and educates them in a way so they can take control and not be taken advantage of and make calculated choices. So how do I do that? Well, everything I do has a sense of education to it. Everything I get involved in. So my team Rise Together is about education. BBR is about education. I don't make this stuff up. Education, right? So even my the Right Mindset podcast, not podcast, the YouTube channel I have about writing. It's education. So education is important to me, but so is entertainment and so is enlightenment, right? But how I go about entertaining or educating or enlightening is a part of the mission. So my mission isn't to entertain, educate, and enlighten. My mission is a very specific thing. I want to erase and eradicate the misconceptions that entertainers trying to succeed are led by, so they can have the information to make educated choices, right? So that's one element. Another thing is the team Rise Together. I want to bring together individuals within the industry to work in a coherent, a non-judgmental environment that allows them an opportunity to be creative with other individuals, right?
A safe, cooperative.
Yeah, you got to be safe. You got to be safe. But my point is, having missions is the brand. When people can connect to your mission or your purpose, or like when people listen to Brad Pitt or The Rock, there's something about The Rock beyond he's a wrestler that people connect to. It's his positivity. It's the way he treats people. It's how him and Kevin Hart, it's not that Kevin Hart and him are entertaining. It's that, oh, I'm like that with my friend. I love their relationship. They're connecting with something. And the Rock's missions in life are to connect with people, but in a way that allows them to feel, you know what I'm saying? Like, but he also takes his money and he does good with it. He's not just wealthy. He gives back his time. He helps people. He mentors people. He's living the life. He's not trying to be anything false. He's trying to be authentic, and people connect to that, right? They don't need to go to the Rock's website anymore, right? But we could also go to the Rock's Instagram and be like, oh, whenever he's like, buy my, tequila, you'll see that his interaction drops. But when it's him talking about working out or what he did that day, it goes up, because the difference is a push to buy my tequila is a push, no matter who you are. You could be Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, Tom Selleck. A push is a push, right? But brand is what people emotionally connect to, and therefore they're more inclined to interact. And that's the big difference between, hey, look at me, will give you a great experience, versus this is what I stand for, and I'm proving it through my actions. All right. Cory, any questions before we end the show? Did anything come up that you're like, I'm a little curious about that, or does it make sense, or et cetera, et cetera?
I just want to make sure I want to say thank you to you, man. I want to say, like, if anything we were talking about lends to me getting more in a plugged in success mindset, I'm grateful to you. I'm glad that we're friends. I'm glad I know you.
Yeah,
and I want to make sure I state that on the record. I think when you did my podcast a couple of weeks ago, I didn't say that, and it's always important for me to say it. How important it is that someone has spent the currency of their time and their effort on listening to anything I say or do, or watching me in any way. It all is very important, and the fact that we stayed friends is something I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, and you're what I consider. Like I tell my friends all the time, I don't talk to people every day, right? It's just not how I'm a busy guy, right? But like how we talk, we're comfortable with each other, we joke with each other. If you're like, hey, you want to do this thing? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. For you, is always a yes, right? So it's important to show your friends what you can do, to me, you are my friend, and I care about you, and I think highly of you, and there's a light in my heart when I go, oh, Cory, it's Cory. Or if I see you tweet, I'm like, oh, it's my buddy Cory. But I'm glad you were on the show, and to end the show, I'll give you some quick advice. The advice is always the same. You have to figure out what your monthly expenses are and save up 18 to 24 months of that. then you could quit your jobs and just start trying to get involved in the industry that you want to be in. If you want to be in the wrestling industry, volunteer your time and get involved with whoever you can, whenever you can, and don't ask for money, but they're going to give you money eventually. That's number one. The second thing is you need to network to build and cultivate relationships to develop a strong circle of influence. A circle of influence does not influence your career, they influence better behavior, right? Better habits. So find people that are doing it. Find people. One of my mentors says if you want to be a successful musician, hang out with successful musicians because you start changing your brain around them.
Mhm.
You know, when I was hanging out with musicians that were doing what I was doing, they did the same thing. Let's do a show, let's record albums, but they all had day jobs. And then I was hanging out with people that were successful, and every one of them was networking and building a brand and they were giving their time to people. And I was like, all right, I get it. The other thing you need to do is develop a brand that's very consistent and work on marketing that brand, building awareness to create interest that ultimately generates sales so people buy into your brand emotionally. Third, practice. Learn your industry, not the wrestling or the comedy of your industry, even though when you're working on your talents, your skills do that. But learn the industry, how it works. So you can go, what could I bring to the table that can help this industry or this situation or this project beyond I am talented at something known as wrestling or comedy? And then, of course, my third thing is always the same: is you should be trying to find solutions in a way that allows you to lead, follow, and advise. Leading is not about taking over. It's about being what?
An influence.
Influencing. It's about having initiative. It's about encouraging others. It's about being a leader. Following is not about taking command blindly, but about elevating and enhancing the thing you got involved in. When you join a table, how do you elevate that table? And it can't be about you. It has to be about the mission of that table. And third, advising is not about being right. It's about adding options to the solution. And that's it. If you follow those things as sort of like a soft plan, by the time you have that money, if you're working on those relationships, working on your brand, learning your industry, by the time you have that startup capital, you will have all the pieces in place that allow you an opportunity to take advantage of your effort. You know, the effort you talk about, I bring effort. Your effort would be rewarded, and you will be able to say yes to everything as long as it fits within your brand. Obviously, don't say yes to things that don't work with your brand.
Right.
Because if you don't have to work a day job, you can say yes.
You know what's weird?
Wow.
I'm going back to that whole part of like changing people's mindsets on things, and I really like interacting with people, even especially people who like I've never met before, and kind of changing their idea of like they've never met, and this comes off as arrogant to some, but they've never met somebody like me. Most people aren't like me. I'm the only me that I am, and not I've never met another person who's a wrestler, comic, actor, and also has a podcast and also had brain surgery. They've never met anybody with all those things. So I always say, like, when it comes to not just being a role model or just being an influence, but showing people that they can change their way of thinking and really get through shit. Like sometimes I go back and I go like, oh, what was my biggest struggle 5 months ago? And then I go, okay, well, that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Like I've been through so much worse than any of what my struggles are that I can kind of like, I can live in a struggle-free environment.
Well, what's that saying? You've already beat your hardest day ever.
Yeah.
Right.
I've never heard the saying, but yeah, you've probably lived through it.
Well, you did. You know, your brain surgery was your hardest day ever. I mean, you probably had different hardest days ever, but you already beat your hardest days ever.
Yeah.
Right. And that And if we can relate to that and understand that when we are going through hard times, we're going to beat this. We're going to be able to break through this. You're always capable, because all you got to do is look at your past and go, "Wow, I remember that. That was a hard time, and I beat it."
Thomas, did you see that somebody commented on the video of the episode of my podcast that you and I did,
No, what they say?
and said that it looked like I was speaking to a future version of myself?
Well, I'm gonna have to go check that out. I'll be like, "This is the future version of Cory, and my penis grew 4 inches. It's amazing. I now have a 5-inch penis."
What do you know?
It's amazing what time does for you. Everything sags, but in a good way.
Elasticity.
Alas, call me Mr. Fantastic. All right, Mr. Cory. I wanted to try to keep the episode to 60 minutes. I used to do like 3-hour episodes for this.
Okay.
I'm not doing that anymore. I want to say thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Can I speak directly to your audience here for just a second?
Yeah, go for it. Say something to them. Yeah, wait. Let me pop you up. Boom.
Hey, folks. I know you have a lot of options for consuming any kind of content. So the fact that you've spent the currency of your effort and your time listening to anything I've ever had to say, I say I'm so super grateful if you would just take 2 more seconds of your time and follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram at Cory Kastle, follow my podcast, Evolving with Cory Kastle. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on iTunes. And, it's on YouTube. YouTube's about to do handles. So it's going to be at Cory Kastle. But right now it's currently youtube.com/Cory Kastle, the custom URLs. And, man, don't ever hesitate to feel like you can't reach right out to me. My DMs are always wide open, and I'm always willing to give time to people who want to ask me any questions. I can absolutely answer any questions at any time. And if you're digging what content I'm putting out, let me know you exist. Leave comments, like, subscribe, rate, do whatever you got to do at that point, just to kind of get it past to that next level. All we want to do is evolve. We want to continue to evolve and continue to grow and continue to change. Check out Shamecast. It's a show I just started. I just scheduled an episode for this Sunday to post our 7th episode of Shamecast. It's shame, self-help, and managing emotions. It's a show that I just started hosting with my girlfriend, Alyssa Marie, who you can also check out on Netflix. She's on episode 2 of Sing On. She makes it all the way to the end. She's the best. And I'm super happy to be partnered up with her. And I appreciate you guys very much. Thomas, I very much appreciate you. You're the best, dude. You're like the it's almost like there's just such a solid foundation. This is an example. I made this joke on the newest episode of Shamecast, which will come out on Sunday. But I said.
By the way, when he's saying Sunday, he means the Sunday that comes after today, which this episode definitely will air after the Sunday.
Okay, so check out that episode. It's a great episode. You'll love it.
Yeah, but keep looking for it every Sunday.
I make the joke. I said those big green Legos that are the base for your home, that foundation, you got to dig through the bucket. Sometimes. Sometimes they're right on top, but it's kind of rare. You got to dig through the bucket to find the foundation. So it feels like you're a guy who's got a supply of green foundations. Like you have a whole bucket full of the green Legos that you build houses on.
It took a lot of work to get here, but once you get there, it's there. Like I tell, there's people who believe, and then there are people like he doesn't know what he's talking about, and I'm like, well, what's my day job? Well, and they're like, well, I don't know, what is it? And I go, well, I write.
It's I it's a fragility. It's a fragility that people have
Yeah.
to go, oh, it must be nice to have this and that. Like you've got this privilege, so then you get that, and it's almost like a not me, not it's almost like a you're convincing yourself that you don't deserve whatever it is that you want.
The imposter syndrome. I get it. It's good.
Yeah.
I don't have imposter syndrome. I know I'm amazing. No, I'm just kidding. I'm too cool to be humble. You know? Oh wait, what? Anyway, listen. We gotta close it because on this day I have a 7 o'clock I gotta jump on.
Good.
But I want to say thank you, Cory Kastle, for coming out. All his information is going to be in the description below of both the podcast audio and also the podcast video. I know you probably all went deaf when he started rattling off 7,000 there. Follow me here. But all that information will absolutely be on his website, and I will have his website in the description. But his show is fun, though. I enjoy being on it, and I enjoy listening to it. I have listened to it beyond just what was my episode. So with that, remember everyone, I don't make this stuff up. You got to change the brain to change the game. And as always, what you do is not your job. Your job rewards you financially to do the thing you do passionately. So with that, find solutions and think outside the box. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Love you. See ya. Bye.